Good morning. Thank you for joining us today as we close out the 14th season of the Capitol Hunger Garden. While the garden for a short time became home to some groundhogs who helped themselves to what was planted, we were still able to harvest 727.5 pounds of vegetables and herbs during this season. They may be a nuisance, but they were hungry too, and obviously they found out this was a great place to have lunch. But through our long-standing collaboration with Downtown Daily Bread, all the produce collected was donated to their organization, where they were able to provide hearty meals to many in the Harrisburg area. I'd like to thank the PA Department of General Services, who grants us the ability to use this land where we plant the Hunger Garden, and whose staff facilitates the effort each year, and the master gardeners and the volunteers who plant and harvest the garden with us each season. In addition to the Hunger Garden effort, our caucus also takes part in Hunger Action Month, which occurs every September. It's during this time where we encourage Pennsylvanians to donate both their time and resources to assist food banks in their mission to ensure no family suffers from food insecurity. My Harrisburg and district offices run an annual food drive during that month, and this year we were able to collect over 100 non-perishable items that were either donated to the Central Pennsylvania Food Bank or a local food bank in my district. I'd like to thank everyone who participated and contributed to our food drive, because every bit of support helps Pennsylvanians in need. Our state government is also focused on investing in more ways to further fight hunger and provide additional access to fresh produce in Pennsylvania, such as the Fresh Food Finance Initiative Grant Program and the Food Recovery Infrastructure Grant Program. Today joining me are my co-chair, Representative Emily Kincaid, Senator Judy Schwank, Minority Chair of the Senate Agricultural and Rural Affairs Committee, Representative Eddie Day-Prashinsky, Majority Chair of the House Ag and Rural Affairs Committee, Mashisa Jackson, Executive Director of Downtown Daily Bread, and Corey Lingenfelder, who is their Executive Director, Joe Arthur, CEO of the Central Pennsylvania Food Bank, and the Pennsylvania Master Gardeners, Amber Janabar, Aubrey Kalisha, and Carol Webb. Also, Senator Tim Carney is with us here as well today. So I'd like to turn it over to Representative Kincaid to say a few words.
Good morning, and thank you all for coming out today. The Hunger Garden is such an important symbol of what it is that we are doing and what more we need to do in order to ensure that every Pennsylvanian has access to food, and not just food, but nutritious, high-quality food. There are so many Pennsylvanians that do not have access to fresh fruits and vegetables, and it's only getting worse. Food insecurity is worse now than it was during the pandemic, and we have at the state level a lot more work to do in order to make sure that every Pennsylvanian and every American in the wealthiest country on earth is able to access food. So we plant the Hunger Garden, or our master gardeners plant the Hunger Garden, and we take credit for it every year as just a small way of saying, everyone can do something to address food insecurity in their communities. We are able to use this plot of land and give the food to Downtown Daily Bread and support the people in the Harrisburg community who need it. But each and every one of us have the ability to do something, whether it is volunteering at your local food bank, whether it's donating time, treasure, or talent to them. The ability to give back and make sure that your neighbors are taken care of is something that we all have the ability to do, no matter what our limited resources or limited time. And so as we close out the Hunger Garden, I encourage everybody to take the message of the Capitol Hunger Garden and do something, just a little something, to help a neighbor, because food insecurity exists everywhere. It is not a red or a blue issue. It is not an urban or a rural issue or a suburban issue. It is an everywhere issue. It impacts across gender lines, across racial lines, everyone. Everyone is susceptible to food insecurity, and you know somebody, whether you realize it or not, that is food insecure. And so a little bit goes a long way to help those individuals. So thank you, and I will now turn it over to Senator Schwank.
Thank you, Representative Kincaid. So it's always a great day when we start the garden, isn't it? We have all the hope and, perspective that we're going to have a great season. We're going to harvest a lot of food here at the Hunger Garden. And of course, 2 groundhogs had to come into the picture. I am a gardener myself, and I am trying to figure out what purpose God had to create groundhogs, because I'm not sure what their value on this earth is. Anyway, here we are, we're putting the garden to bed, and I will note that our master gardeners, using best gardening practices, have also sown a cover crop. So they've kind of put a blanket on the garden so that it will capture rainfall when it rains again, or snow, and help to make sure that this garden is ready and more fertile and able to support a garden next year. And I was thinking about that this morning, as a gardener myself, that as we're thinking about what the Hunger Garden will be able to do for us next year, let us also think about what we can do over the winter season to help plan prior to the budget, of course, for us as legislators, to try to figure out how we can better address hunger in the Commonwealth. What are the innovative ways that we need to approach hunger? We know there are specific audiences that many of our food banks are trying to address. For example, I've often talked about my own Helping Harvest back in Berks County. And one of the things that they have done this year is they have a special grant to address the nutritional needs of pregnant moms and mothers with young babies. So that is one specific initiative. Another thing they're looking at is seniors. Seniors often, can't use necessarily even a 1 or 2 pound bag of produce, but they could use prepared meals that they could pop into a microwave. So our food bank has developed a community kitchen that will actually be preparing these meals and distributing them to seniors. What can we do to help ramp up our PASS program? Some of the programs that we're using through the Department of Agriculture that encourages Pennsylvania farmers to contribute food or to sell food and to help address hunger. There are more ways, I think, that we can do better in terms of helping to address food insecurity. Yes, I agree with the idea that we've got a problem, and it has gotten worse since COVID. Our food bank directors will tell us that. So we need to do whatever we can to help create and to improve the programming that we have so that we can better address food insecurity. And I look forward to that. Just as our gardeners, soon the seed catalogs will start arriving in your mailbox, and you'll be dreaming about what that garden's going to do for next year. And I'm sure our master gardeners are thinking about how they can improve on the garden for next year. Let us, as legislators and individuals who are tasked with addressing hunger in our Commonwealth, let us also be thinking about what are our plans for next year? What will we do differently that will really help to make sure that every year we are doing our utmost to help address food insecurity? I, too, would like to thank everybody who was involved with this, not only our master gardeners, but certainly some of the office staff here in the Capitol that came down and pulled weeds. I think Senator Vogel has a team that has been helping to maintain the garden. This garden is, yes, it's symbolic, but even 700 pounds of food is nothing to take for granted because it has helped to make a difference. Let's all do what we can to help make sure that none of our friends or neighbors are suffering from food insecurity. So thank you so much for that. And then I will ask my colleague on the House side, Representative Eddie Day Pashinsky, to come to the podium.
Thank you very much, Senator, and I think that it's appropriate. We've already received unanimous approval. We're going to develop groundhog security for next year. All that work. I know exactly because I have a groundhog on my property. He's constantly doing things. But good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for having me. And being able to share my sincere thank you to Senator Vogel and to Chairman Kincaid for their great work in the closing ceremony today. Truly incredible. As the House Ag Chair, I know that it's very important to ensure consistent access to nutritious foods, and it's essential for all our Pennsylvanians. It's sad to say that here in 2024, we have 1.5 million Pennsylvanians that still need help with food. And we know that when children and adults don't have adequate food, nutritious food, that leads to negative social and health outcomes, which then makes addressing the food insecurity a critical public health issue. That's why the Hunger Caucus and Capitol Hunger Garden are important. And you are setting a perfect example, working in bipartisan, bicameral fashion to help address an issue impacting all of those people. For over a decade, the Hunger Caucus and hundreds of volunteers have donated their time and their effort to cultivate thousands of pounds of food. For everyone who maintains their own garden, you know what it's like. We talked about the groundhog. We also had the weeds and the bugs and everything else. Planting and growing and harvesting takes dedication and patience, no matter the size or scale. So thank you to all the people that have put their hands and their feet to work in making sure that the garden has grown. In addition to the tremendous work of the Hunger Caucus and the House Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee, we also championed and passed several bills to expand access to nutritious food and fight insecurity. That includes advancing the SNAP program. Recipients, when they buy their fruits and vegetables, increase surplus food, stock for those in need by expanding donor protections, and to help increase the amount of PA-produced food served in school meals. Let's remember, PA preferred. That's what that symbol is. By PA. Grown in PA, by PA. It's the finest food anywhere. Together, our work is bringing awareness and working to fight against hunger, but as you know, there's always more to be done. Moving forward, I encourage all of us to continue finding innovative solutions, building partnerships that will help reduce that food insecurity and ensure that every Pennsylvanian has access to nutritious food that they need to survive. Thank you once again to the Hunger Caucus, the volunteers from Penn State Cooperative Extension, Master Gardens, Pennsylvania Vegetable Growers Association, and everyone who has supported the Capitol Hunger Garden. We also welcome Representative, I always have trouble with that, Cepeda Fritzi. Did I say it right?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, and yes, Representative
Khan.
No, say it proudly. Tara Khan. Your dedication and service are truly appreciated, and I look forward to seeing how we continue to grow our PA food and efforts across our Commonwealth. Kudos to Senator Vogel and Representative Kincaid for keeping this thing happening. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Representative Pashinsky. Chef Jackson, I invite you now to come to the podium and highlight what the Downtown Daily Bread does with all the good produce we give you.
All right. I'm not that great at this, but this is a subject that I actually enjoy talking about. I'd like to take a moment to recognize the tremendous contribution the Hunger Garden has made to Downtown Daily Bread. As someone that comes from a third world country, a family that comes from a third world country, processed food was not something that was a part of my upbringing. So before I took this job, I told my mentor, and she was like, Aisha, I'm not sure if this is for you because you're not going to be able to make the food you think you're going to make. But I told her this is my passion and I love service and helping those in need, so I went with it. I've been now with Downtown Daily Bread for 2 summers, and I have to say the Hunger Garden has been an absolute favorite part of the warmer weather. Knowing that I'll have fresh, healthy, and delicious food to serve my guests brings me immense joy. Your dedication and partnership has allowed us to provide meals that many might not have been able to receive otherwise. And with our food program now expanding to 3 meals a day, and we now have a food pantry, I'm just excited for next season, and I thank you all for inviting me here today to thank you, and all the work and dedication that you and your volunteers have provided, and you made a real impact for us at Downtown Daily Bread, so we thank you.
Thank you, Chef Jackson. Next, I'd like to invite Joe Arthur to say a few words about the Central Pennsylvania Food Bank's initiatives involving hunger in Pennsylvania.
Thank you, Senator Vogel, and thank you, Representative Kincaid, and all of our friends and champions that are here today with the Hunger Caucus. I'm the CEO of the Central Pennsylvania Food Bank, but I'm really speaking for really all of the folks that lead the regional food banks around the state. And we have about 3,000 plus partner organizations that we work with to serve people. And we heard from Maisha today, Downtown Daily Bread, my friend Corey Lingenfelter, the CEO there. They're a fine example of the organizations that we work with and help supply to make sure those 1.5 Pennsylvanians are served each and every day, week in, week out. So a few months ago, I stood here and welcomed another growing season with the Hunger Caucus, and here we are today. And that hunger crisis, even though the garden has been harvested, it's kind of plain dirt behind us. The master gardeners have done their wonderful work as they always do, but that hunger crisis is still here, and we heard a little bit about that already. In our 27 counties that we serve, and this is indicative of the state as a whole and really the nation as a whole. We have about 1 in 8 Pennsylvanians that are struggling with hunger right now. Unfortunately, about 1 in 6 children are struggling with hunger. We serve in a typical month these days about 250,000 unique individuals just in our service territory. And I just shared this with an NBC correspondent this morning, but that's an increase of about 50% since 2021. 2021 was the height of the pandemic. So when we use the phrase hunger crisis, we mean it. That's where we are. The good news is that we have a state and a state government and an administration, a General Assembly that work with us deeply on a daily basis. You heard some of the program names. They're critically important. We rely on those programs, as well as, of course, the donations from our donors and also our volunteers. Pull that all together to make sure that we're serving across the state that 1.5 million Pennsylvanians. But know that we could not do it without our farm community, our producers. And these programs are designed to serve people struggling with hunger, but the other side of that equation is our farmers and producers. And to Eddie Day's point, Pennsylvania, locally grown product, locally produced, locally crafted, we do as much as we can to support our farmers and producers, and it's the best food that we can get, and typically at the lowest possible cost. It doesn't have a lot of miles on it. So we're proud to be part of that cycle, to be part of the connective tissue that brings that all together. And so I'll close, and I know that's wonderful words to hear, by just thanking the General Assembly and the administration for the Pennsylvania Ag Surplus System, the State Food Purchasing Program, and the many other ways that they assist us to make sure that we can keep the healthy food flowing, because that's what this is about. It's really nutritious food. The old days of food banking are behind us, way behind us in Pennsylvania. We are talking about nutritious, healthy food, much of it that can be cooked at home, to Maisha's point, and therefore the healthiest food, and we're supporting people in their health as well. So again, thank you for having me represent the Charitable Food Network here today. And thank you for supporting the health of our neighbors, especially those struggling with hunger. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe, and I want to thank everyone for joining us here today. We truly had a plentiful garden harvest this year, and I look forward to what next year's garden will bring. So we'll look forward to seeing you all back here in the spring of 2025 to start over again. So thank you very much, and have a happy day.